It's about a single seed. That's right, a seed. This is my seed from my garden. I planted it in May. It's from arugula. This is actually a pod, but it came from a single seed. So what's so special about this seed? This seed shows a lot of power, and it's very organic. The thing I learned is I can't control seeds. What I can do is nurture them and set up the foundation for them. And it's about establishing those positive seeds and setting up that foundation for them to grow. And so that's sort of what my sort of talk is about, and I'd love for you to come on that journey with me. I'd like to start with the personal story. We've heard some really good ones today. The one that I want to start with is starting with my grandfather. So our families come from Kashmir, and he was a forester back home. And he took care of the lands from illegal logging and forest fires. And so he protected that area. My dad's eldest brother, Balraj Tauji, he was a human rights activist in Kashmir. So he fought for the people. And he was a journalist. And here you can see him on the left being awarded the top civilian honor in India by the president of India at the time, which is Dr. Kalam. And that brings me to my father. Very, very humble, smart, simple, but yet profound man who's given us the seed, my brother and I, about what to do in life and how to live that life. The wind was blown from India. He had to uproot in '67, come to Canada, and set a new life up. So it was a big challenge. He faced a lot of discrimination, but he did it. And he did it well because my brother and I are attractive, handsome, intelligent boys. But it's the things in the last 5 to 6 years that has hit him hardest. So in 2005, due to circumstances that were out of our control, we lost our mother. Not only that, my father also faced retirement. So being in a new land, it was a hard struggle for him. Back home, as an elder, he'd be respected. In this new culture, it's harder to do that. And so hitting these two things, isolation hit him, depression hit him, and he was going through a tough time. But the seeds that he planted and that he nurtured, he didn't control us, he nurtured us, set up the foundation. My brother and I found two things that he loved. That's cooking, and that's also traveling. He's done both of these things independently and done it as a way of meditating and finding spirituality. So, taking that knowledge from doing it for us and for his friends, we wanted to bring it out, open source him. He held the first ever Indian Cooking 101 class in the community for us in Mount Pleasant. And he was very, very scared. He said, why would anyone come to my class? There's nothing I can teach that people don't know. I'm like, Indian cooking is hard. It's a complicated art. It's not easy. I don't even know how to do it. I do Chinese cooking. I can do other cooking. But Indian cooking, I don't have 8 hours to wait for this curry to boil. So he said, OK, fine. If 5 people come, I'm happy. We had 25 people with 50 people on the wait list for his class. His first class, where we had a little neighborhood grant that the Van City and Vancouver Foundation helped support. And from that, he got really empowered. He said, there is stuff that I have to offer. I don't have to think about my isolation. So the great thing about our generation, we said, hey, we should actually open source it even more. So we put him up on a blog, and he shares his recipes. You can download them if you like. It's on Papa Puri's Kitchen. And he shows his recipes on how to do chicken curry and chole and all these other dishes. We also put him up on Twitter. Now, he doesn't use it too often, but he does tweet here and there. So if you don't want to find him, you can find him on Twitter as well. The other thing, as I mentioned, is that he loves to travel. So there's a worldwide movement called couchsurfing.org. If people have tried it, you know how well it is. But they have about 9 million members now. It started with 2-3 years ago, about 1 million or 2. But he was like, hey, that's interesting. How does this work? I said, well, basically you learn a culture by sleeping on people's couches. He said, wow. Well, luckily, I didn't have to help him much except for the photo. He did everything else, all on his own, his background, his interests, the books that he likes to read. And he was really amazed to see people were talking to him. And so when he had to go to China, he found these 2 young girls, and they showed him around. And he was just mind blown. He's like, I'm just a foreigner from Canada and India. What do these people have anything with me? And they basically wanted to learn his culture, his lifestyle, what he does. And then he did that in return to show them, they showed them their culture and their friends. He's also gone to Mexico, and he met Olivia. And Olivia's been amazing for him. So it basically opened him up to go to Mexico 3 separate times at a month each and explore different parts of Mexico. He's actually right now, he just finished a 1-month trip in Turkey, and he's in India, exploring parts of India he would never have done before without the help of online tools and connecting with people outside of our general networks. That brings me to the foundation. So this is my brother and his girlfriend, Montana. We're setting up the foundation in our community garden plot in East Vancouver. East Van. There's a reason why people love East Van, right? So here you can see us turning the soil. We also have mushroom manure, and we're trying to make that foundation strong. And I think that's the key, is setting up a strong, strong foundation. So the way that we do it is set up the seeds. We put everything in order and let things grow. You can see some garlic. You see the chives in the beginning. That was in April. This is in May. This is in June. Chives are growing nicely. The flowers are coming. Everything is in order. And that's how I normally used to work when I was an organizer. So I like to organize things. And the thing that I learned from this is that if you control it, things will go to a certain level. But if you want to go to the next level, you have to change things. And it was only through a problem that I had that I found this out. So basically in July and August, those are the best months to grow. I actually had to take a trip and asked one of my best friends to take care of my garden. He said, no problem. I said, just water it. That's all you have to do. If you want, you can weed it. You can prune things, but just water it. He said, no problem. I come back in September, really excited about looking at what the garden is and what he found in terms of the yield. And I said, how did it go? He's like, oh, shoot. I knew I was forgetting something that I had to do this summer. I'm like, you didn't go? He's like, no, I didn't even go there once. And I was so shocked and so worried that when I went to the garden that everything would die. The opposite happened. This isn't actually the same year. That was several years ago. But I took that philosophy. What happened was things grew to the next level. So instead of me controlling it and trying to prune things and grow it to a certain level, things went crazy. And in a way that helped each other. You can see that's why I have so many arugula seeds, because they all went to seed. But in that year that he was tending it, the fun part was actually getting a sunflower in my garden. I didn't even plant a sunflower. And it was actually the tallest sunflower plant in all of the community garden plots out of 50. And I was just shocked. I said, wow, I don't have to control everything. Things can just grow on their own as long as you set up the foundation and let the wind and the community and Mother Nature take care. So it's about asking those important questions. So for me, it was like, well, what's so important about the foundation, right, and about the garden, and why do I have to learn about my past? Well, I wanted to use some similar types of questions to find out why am I here and why are we here? And when we moved from India, we faced a lot of discrimination coming from Winnipeg to Vancouver and moving around. And we wanted to really explore that question. What does multiculturalism mean anyways? We pride ourselves on that in Canada, but there's still issues with that. And if you feel that discrimination, why is that happening? The old me, when I was trying to control things, would be like, here's my answer, now people listen to me. And then let's have a dialogue. The new me is thinking, okay, well, let's open this up to the community and ask people. The beauty was that we found that people really wanted to talk about this topic. And they didn't know the answer, but they really wanted to dialogue. So we tried an experiment. It's called Co-op Culture. It's a great initiative, rebranding multiculturalism, rethinking about it. The one thing that we wanted to try on our website is, what does multiculturalism mean to you? Open text box. So hundreds and hundreds of answers poured in. The shock for me was that 95% of those words were not the same. Only 5% were. You'd think people all would say mosaic, and that word would be really big, and everyone would share that. No. The answer was that there was a lot of words out there, and people have different ways to describe it, so priding the diversity. It's funny, because in Inuit culture, when you think of the word snow, they have 40 different ways to say the word snow. And I think we can say the same thing here. So you don't want to control things. You want to open things up. That fostered our next event, which is looking at the power of social media and how does social media help minority communities build relationships and make more connections. We had a panel of speakers, and we asked people. The main question that we wanted to find out was, who are we? So what is your background? Normally, the old me, the old way of organizing is, here's some check boxes, choose one. Only one. Tell us who you are. The new me, let's open it up. And what we did was we had 300 plus people in the room. This is what happened. We opened up the question, and this is how people self-identified. So many varieties. So the bigger the word is, that means more people said that word, and the smaller the word is, less people said it. So you can see people have different ways of saying their own identity. The best part for me is that noise, those little lines in there. So if we had checkboxes, how do we get Chilean Palestinian? They would be so confused which box to check. You wouldn't get a sentence like this: grew up as a white female, Anglo, I guess, questioning their identity, questioning their past. And the best one for me was, I'm still trying to figure that out. And I think that's that journey that we're on. It's a journey and a path that Mother Nature teaches us to constantly evolve and constantly improve. The story of the night was actually a 15-year-old young Filipino girl. So we had two speakers from the Filipino community. And she came alone without her parents. It was an evening event. And she was just so amazed by these speakers and taken aback. And she said to them, well, when I grow up, I want to be someone who inspires people just like you guys. So the seed was planted in her. Not only that, one of the speakers that was presenting, Ajay Puri, a good friend, he actually ran for office. He was inspired back. And he garnered, for the first time ever, he's never been in politics, 30,000 votes. Really powerful. The other issue that I really care about is sustainability. Moving to Vancouver from Winnipeg in India. So climate is in crisis. So channeling my energy, being a doer, being a person who likes action, we said, okay, let's do something about this. So back in 2009, 350.org was doing a worldwide movement on taking action for climate change before the world leaders met together to make action and make new Kyoto protocols. So what we wanted to do was take an event, it was a crazy idea in Vancouver, end of October, do something outside with the rain and the cold. And what we wanted to do is actually close one of the bridges down. And so we tried with Burrard, but we ended up closing down Cambie Bridge. We called the event Bridge to a Cool Planet. And the concept, the old me would have been, well, the climate is in crisis, let's hold a rally, and let's say 1,000 people can come. The new me was, let's bridge to new communities and ask them what they want and what would they like to do for climate action. And that's what we did. So instead of having 1,000 people, we had nearly 10,000. And that was just in one day. There was a resilience part of this story. We were planning it for 6 months, and we didn't know if it would actually happen. It was not only until the month before, in September, that we got the permit from the city to close down Cambie Bridge. So we had a month to get 10,000 people on the bridge. So we couldn't have done it alone. It was about a movement of people working together and working with the community. So we asked elementary school students, what would you like to do? They wanted to paint their hands. We said, that's phenomenal. We'll give you some space. And this sign, Canadians Care Climate Action Now, is actually painted by those little hands of elementary school students. Then we asked salsa dancers. I know, salsa dancers. What the heck do you want to do for this? The climate is in crisis. They said, well, we'll make the word 350, or the number 350, in people. So they spun for climate change, but they also made this. Then me being South Asian, I had to connect with my South Asian Punjabi roots and ask the Bhangra dancers, the Punjabi folk dancers, what would you like to do? We would love to teach a Bhangra dance workshop. So that's what they did. And that's how we got 10,000 people. We asked each community to do something, what they would like to do, not telling them what to do. So how did all this growth happen? Well, me being organic, that's how it happened. No, trying to describe it. Basically, respecting the past, seeing the evolution, that's sort of the diagram at the top. It's not really linear. So that's me trying to put these notes together for this talk. But actually, how it boils down is one word, and that's permaculture. So if you look at the definition of permaculture, and for me, it means sort of looking at a new approach, using the idea of relationships and nature to foster new human settlements and agricultural systems. And it actually combines two really important principles, which is permanent agriculture and permanent culture. It doesn't mean static, it just means an ever-evolving, sustainable ways of having agriculture and culture. So I put it down into 7 principles, hopefully you heard them. Movement building, the permaculture way. Respecting the past, embracing diversity, all types, bio and cultural. Reciprocity, being crowdsourced or open-sourced. Interconnectedness, resilience, and the most important, having fun to make a serious and sustained change. So before I go there, I just wanted to say I've been planted with 3 seeds. So one was, you heard, my family. And I think the funny part for me is the family taught me who I am. So I would have to probably say I'm a green coconut. So, brown coconut's hairy and white on the inside. The green coconut's sort of doing sustainable work. So I think I'm kind of like that. So it's about you finding who you are. And then doing the sustainable work helped me see the process, learning about the garden, how to change my process, opening it up. But the real reason why I do the work is the how and why. And the why is coming from this Dan Dennell quote. Dennell's a profound thinker and philosopher. Find something more important than you are and dedicate your life to it. And that really resonated with me. So we know TED's all about ideas worth spreading. My concept is, as you can tell, seeds worth spreading. So I just wanted to end. So you've heard my passions, my stories, and the seeds that I'd like to set the foundation for. What are your seeds that you like to plant? Better yet, how would you do your work differently to allow those sunflowers to come in? And I think that's the key. So plant them. And as my friend Joel Solomon says, think beyond our normal 5 or 10-year goals and horizon, but picture what these seeds would look like 500 years out. So thank you very much, and namaste.